My life started in a gilded cage, a cage so golden that most people would sell their soul to the devil to get in. Not me though. I was born in the palace of a billionaire, but to me, it felt more like a prison than a home. My brother Charles was the family's golden boy. He was handed the keys to our empire, practically on a silver platter. "You're going to do great things, son," Dad would say, patting him on the shoulder, his eyes gleaming with pride. I watched from the sidelines, more like an outcast than a son. My place was clear, always in the shadows of my big brother's shining light. Then there was Veronica. Beautiful, spectacular Veronica. We met in college, a breath of fresh air amidst all the Ivy League snobs. She was the love of my life, the calm in my storm. But it turned out she was more interested in my bank account than my soul. It all happened on one fateful day. I'd planned to surprise her with a trip to her favorite author's book signing. John Green, if you can believe it. She's read The Fault in Our Stars so many times she can recite it. But I digress. I walked into her apartment, armed with 2 plane tickets to New York and a bouquet of roses. That's when I saw them, Veronica and Charles, looking cozy on the couch. What the... Ah! What's going on? John, Veronica stammered, clearly caught off guard. Charles and I. She didn't have to say anything. The look on Charles's face said it all. He was gloating, his eyes sparkling with triumph. "I'm sorry, little brother," he smirked, not sounding sorry at all. But Veronica has decided she prefers the heir over the spare. That was a low blow, even for him. But it was my wake-up call. That day, I vowed to bring Charles down. Not for me, but for all the Veronicas he would hurt in the future. "So, that's your plan, John," he laughed when I confronted him later. "Good luck with that. Remember, I'm the heir. Dad won't believe a word against me." He was right, of course, but he also underestimated me. Big mistake. I started digging into Charles's life, looking for any skeletons that might tumble out of his impeccably tailored closet. I looked through his emails, his transactions, everything. I'm like Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network, except, not starting a billion-dollar company. I thought I knew my brother. I really did. But the deeper I dig, the less I recognize him. I found out about offshore accounts, shady deals, even some sketchy visits to what seems like a cartel boss. While I'm hunting for dirt, I come across something else. Something worse. Dark family secrets that would make Game of Thrones look like a Disney movie. That's right, Red Wedding, you got nothing on this. We weren't just rich, we were dirty rich. Our family fortune was built on fraud, exploitation, even a hint of murder. The mansions, the cars, the billion-dollar empire, all of it built on a graveyard of skeletons. No wonder our mother had those haunted eyes in a liquor cabinet that would make Hemingway proud. I decided to take the evidence to my father. He has to know, right? He's the godfather of this mafia-like empire. Surely he'd want to do something about it. But hey, guess what? I was wrong. Before I can even show him the evidence, my sister Helena walks in. The perfect daughter with her Ivy League degree and her charity work. Yeah, you guessed it. She's the Ivanka of our little Trump dynasty. "You're making a mistake, John," she warns me, her gaze as cold as winter in Siberia. "But Helena, we can't let Charles..." "It's not about Charles!" She cuts me off, her eyes flashing. "This is about us, about our family. If you expose this, you expose us all." But I don't listen. Instead, I spilled the beans. Spilled them all over our father's Persian rug. I tell him about Charles, about our wealth, about everything. Big mistake. Huge mistake. Dad doesn't react the way I expect him to. No anger, no outrage. Just a silent, stoic acceptance. Then he does the unthinkable. He disowns me. Kicks me out of the family, out of the empire. My inheritance, my status, my fortune, all gone. "You're no longer a part of this family, John," he says, his voice colder than I've ever heard it. "You're on your own now." So there I was, out of the Billionaire Club, and honestly, it's a lot less glamorous on the other side. I had to start from scratch, find a job, an apartment. Hell, even figuring out how to use a washing machine was an adventure. I started working as a barista at a hole-in-the-wall cafe called Java the Cup. And no, it wasn't a Star Wars-themed cafe. The name was about the only thing exciting here. One day, an older gentleman walked in. It was Uncle Alfred, the family pariah. We hadn't seen him since he walked away from the family business years ago. "Hey, Al, long time no see," I said with forced cheer. His eyebrows went up. "Al, we're on a nickname basis now. Your father didn't raise you with that level of familiarity." "We aren't exactly on speaking terms," I retorted, a little defensively. Alfred looked at me, his gaze softening. "Tell me about it, lad." "Over lukewarm coffees and stale croissants." "Croissants?" I spilled my guts. About how Charles had stolen Veronica, my birthright, and my position in the family. Alfred listened, nodding occasionally, saying nothing. The cafe closed, but our conversation continued into the night. In the days that followed, Alfred became a regular at Java the Cup. He began to share the real reason he had left the family business. The manipulations, the treachery, the cutthroat competition, it was all too familiar. "And then I decided I'd had enough," Alfred concluded one day. "So I walked away." "Just like that?" I asked incredulously. "Just like that," he confirmed. Then I met Maria, Alfred's caretaker. She had fiery red hair and piercing blue eyes. Not that I was crushing or anything. Guys, come on, I wasn't crushing. We soon formed an unlikely trio. Maria with her easy laughter, Alfred with his wealth of wisdom, and me, the fallen prince seeking redemption. They were my new family, my unlikely allies in the upcoming storm. "All right then," Alfred declared one day, after a long discussion about our plan. "Let's bring down an empire." My barista life was over. My life as an undercover rebel, it was just beginning. Months of hard work passed as we tirelessly dug through files and paperwork, uncovering the dirty secrets hidden deep within the shiny facade of our family business. Alfred's basement turned into a makeshift war room, with pizza boxes stacked high, a whiteboard full of plans and counterplans, and a constant air of rebellion. This was seeming more like Star Wars than the coffee shop. "Did you ever think we'd end up like this?" Maria asked me one night as we sat amidst a mountain of paperwork, our eyes red-rimmed from exhaustion. "I used to dream of a corner office with a view. Now I dream of not going to prison," I joked, earning a tired chuckle from her. "What about you, Maria?" "Me? I dream of a beach in Mexico and a cold margarita in my hand," she admitted with a sigh. "But let's focus on your dream for now." When the day finally came, when we had enough evidence to topple the empire, we knew we needed help. We needed the biggest rival of our family, Richard Thompson. Richard was Dad's arch nemesis, but to Alfred, he was an old friend. "Richard, I didn't think I'd see the day you walked into my humble abode," Alfred greeted the tall, stern man who entered our war room one day. "Alfred," Richard responded, his gaze scanning the room. "I never thought I'd see the day I'd step foot in here." The tension was palpable as Alfred shared our plan, our evidence, everything. "I want to bring them down, Richard. Not just for me, but for this kid," he said, pointing at me. "And what if I say no?" I couldn't stop myself. "Then we do it without you." Richard looked at me, sizing me up. Then he laughed. "Well, aren't you a feisty one? Reminds me of someone." "Let's do it, Alfred," he said after a moment. "Let's burn it to the ground." As Richard walked away, I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief and dread. We had set the wheels in motion. Now we could only wait for the empire to crumble. All the while, I couldn't help but remember Alfred's words, just like that. "Maria, are we doing the right thing?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She looked at me, her eyes full of resolve. "We are doing the necessary thing, John." As we watched the news break about the financial scandal hitting my family's empire, I knew there was no turning back now. This wasn't a game anymore. It was war. That's when I got the summons. It was a simple text from my father. "Meet us at the mansion tonight." Walking back into the mansion felt like stepping into a different life. Everything looked the same, but it felt hollow, lifeless. The opulence no longer impressed me. It was a symbol of deceit and manipulation. I pushed open the grand doors and entered the hall where my family waited. Charles, my snake of a brother, was the first to speak. "Johnny boy," his voice dripped with false warmth. "Decided to crawl back, have you?" "Wouldn't miss this for the world, Charles," I responded, matching his tone. Helena, ever the poised diplomat, chided. "John, let's remember to keep this civil." "I'll remember, Helena, when it stops being a farce," I snapped back. The exchange was cut short by the booming voice of my father. "Enough!" His command echoed in the grand hall. "John, do you have any idea what you've done?" "Only set the truth free, Dad," I retorted, my gaze unwavering. His fury was palpable. "You've ruined us! Destroyed everything we've worked for!" "No, I saved us from more shame!" the room filled with silence, the impact of my words settling like dust. Turning, I walked towards the exit, ready to leave it all behind. But Charles wasn't done. He blocked my path, his face twisted in a snarl. "You're not going anywhere, John." Just then, the sound of an engine broke the standoff. Maria, my lifeline, had driven up to the mansion. She got out, phone in hand, recording everything.
Charles! You lay a hand on him and this goes viral!
Charles retreated, his arrogance replaced with fear. I walked past him, leaving him and the rest of them behind. As I exited the mansion, Maria ran to me. "You okay?" she asked, worry in her eyes. "I am now," I told her, a small smile playing on my lips. "I've never seen you yell like that, Maria. It was kinda scary, but also kind of, attractive." Maria and I drove off, leaving behind the mansion and the life that it represented. Looking through the rearview mirror, I watched as the grand estate grew smaller, before finally disappearing altogether. As for my family, their fate was left to the public to decide. The videos and evidence we had released had spread like wildfire. Everyone from tabloids to reputable news sources were discussing the dirty dealings of our family business. Charles and Helena were facing charges, their images tarnished forever. The high life they had desperately clung onto crumbled within weeks. The rivals, once downtrodden, now had the upper hand. My father, the man who started it all, was now under investigation. He was no longer the titan he once was. The family name no longer a source of pride, but a symbol of disgrace. His legacy was left in shambles, the reality a stark contrast to the empire he had once dreamt of.